Welcome to The Dumb,
The Smart, and
The Sports.
All right, welcome to episode 3 of The Dumb, the Smart, and the Sports. How you doing, Travis?
I'm good. How you doing, Jordan?
Good. So we're switching to Zoom for this option because we're not in the same place. Uh, that's all right. Just finished watching the national championship for college football. Michigan pulled it off, which was my pick at the 1 week ago, whenever the playoffs started. So not from the beginning of the season, but they beat Washington, who was an underdog in this game. Um, I think most people agree Michigan has been the best team all year. So no surprises here that they won the championship.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I had Michigan win that too. So
So what we're not talking about in today's episode, uh, the NFL season just ended. So we are going to talk about the NFL and the playoffs that are coming up, but we're not going to talk about a few things. One is the coaches being fired. There's already been a few head coaches fired, and as the end of any NFL season, the next coming couple of weeks, there's going to be a bunch of coaches fired. And that's just the reality of the game. It's a production-based game, so if you don't produce and have a winning season, chances are you're not gonna stick around too long. Um,
that's why we're both getting fired.
that's why we're both never gonna be a head coach for the NFL. Um, but one thing also that's not really gonna make the show today is uh, my Saints team. They pulled off the win, but they do not make the playoffs because, well, Travis's team, the Packers, ended up winning and clinching the last playoff spot. Uh,
Oh,
But
you don't know.
I did want to mention real quick, the very end of that game, we were up against the Falcons like 41-17, I think. And there was an interception late in the game, and the ball was down to like the 1 yard line. So there was like 2 minutes left. It was a blowout, and our coach called for us to just kneel the ball out, clock the game, game over, no more plays to run. Um, well, Jameis Winston, who was the backup quarterback for the Saints, actually goes onto the field and kind of goes rogue and calls the play for one of his teammates, Jamal Williams, who's been a really good player, but actually hasn't scored a touchdown all year. And basically was like, from the 1 yard line, we're going to fake this kneel down and hand it to him and let him score a touchdown to win the game. Or, well, I guess just to finish the game off. So they go up to 48 points. Um, Anyways, it didn't seem like a big deal when it happened, but after the game, as you know, most coaches go to the middle of the field, they shake hands, good game. The Falcons head coach comes to the middle field, cussing out the Saints head coach. Like that was bleep, bleep, bleep. Can't believe you would do this, running up the score. Um, and it wasn't even the Saints coach's decision to do it, and he actually apologized. Um, so even though I said we're not talking about this on the show, I'm actually talking about it a lot. Um,
He's
I
getting
think
fired up.
I think first of all, this is a division rivalry. This is a lot of boiling blood between these two teams. I don't think there was anything wrong with running up the score in a sense. Um, it's not the opposing coach's job to play defense. It's your team's job to play defense to stop them from scoring. And they were just doing a nice thing of getting a really good teammate a touchdown on the last game of the season. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with it. But our coach goes on to go and apologize to the opposing coach and basically throws the players under the bus. Like they called the play. I did not script this. I didn't call it. I wanted to kneel the ball down. And it just feels like the Saints coach, again, needs to be fired. But I'm not going to go on that rant.
But you know
So
what?
yeah,
The Packers are in, so that's. Let me just talk
yeah.
about that for a second.
That's what we were actually going to talk about, not the Saints. So yeah, the Packers made the playoffs. How do you feel?
I'm pretty excited about it because I honestly didn't think they were going to make it this time. They
Yeah,
haven't been super great this season so far, but they haven't been like terrible. But I just didn't expect them to make
yeah,
it this time around. But you know what? They surprised me.
yeah.
They got
I
in
mean,
there.
they pretty much a mediocre team most of the year, finishing at
Yep.
9-8, so just one game above having a winning season. Um, but in reality, like the expectations weren't super high for the Packers. Aaron Rodgers is
Yeah.
no longer there. He's not a rookie quarterback, Jordan Love, but this is his first season starting, and he actually had a really good year, and I think future's pretty bright for him. So for all the Packer fans out there, and for Travis, I think you've got a good quarterback. The question is, the playoffs are starting. They're playing the Dallas Cowboys in the first matchup. I don't know. How do you feel about the first matchup?
All right. So me and Jordan got our little bracket going in the little ESPN thingamajigger, and I, you know, I sat there and looked at it for a while. Cowboys versus the Packers, and you know what? I ultimately chose the Cowboys because
Oh,
okay, look,
yeah.
like I'm one of those people like I love my teams and I respect them. It's just like, I always cheer on Murray State and I always will. But I'm sorry, just I know they're not going to go that far. They're not going to make it.
Um,
So I just don't believe the Packers at this current time is going to be able to beat the Cowboys. Now, next year, when they get a little bit better, I think they'll actually, season up and they'll be a little bit of a stronger team next year. But I think for this year, I I just don't think they're going to be able to stand up to the Cowboys this time around. So I had to go
No,
with my gut feeling here. Even though I love my Packers, I had to choose the Cowboys for it.
I have to say we're only in episode 3, and you're already not that dumb anymore.
Don't worry, I will fix that
You'll
problem.
make up for it. Okay. No,
Yeah, I'll make up for
the
it.
thing with the Cowboys, they have the potential to pretty much compete with anybody, but to be fair, they also have the potential to completely have uh, an F game, and they just, sometimes they just don't show up. Um,
Hey, if that
but
happens, I'm okay with it. Screws up my bracket, I don't care. If Packers, pull it
yeah,
off, hey, let's go.
that's a bracket buster you'd be happy with.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I enjoy a bracket buster.
Now that makes me think back, when Murray State has made the NCAA tournament a couple of times, I always, pick them for like the first couple of rounds, but once they get up
Right. Yeah.
with like the high seeds and the blue bloods, I can't make myself pick them, any
Uh,
further than that.
yeah. I do the same thing. I always have them win I always have them win the first round. And then the
Yeah.
second round, normally, but not always, but normally, just depending on who they play. And then after
Yeah.
that, I'm sorry. It's probably just not gonna happen. And I want my bracket to win.
Yeah. I spend way too much time investing my energy into the brackets, but no, I'm with you. And usually Murray State does pretty well the first round or two, but
Normally.
um,
It ain't
can't really
happening this
expect much
year.
from them. No, not this year, for sure.
No. We're not I mean, we went on a 6-game losing streak.
Yeah. Which I think we've won three in a row at this
We
point.
did, and they
So
were important one because they were conference games. So they
yeah,
made us. I think we're ranked fourth right now, but
yeah. I mean, if the hot
that ain't
streak
gonna
keeps up, there's
last
a
long.
chance. But yeah.
Yeah, we'll
Um.
see. Well,
Okay.
Drake is
So
going to murder us.
most likely, yeah. We're still new to the Missouri Valley Conference, and it's just we're gonna need a few years, I think, to kind of get back
Oh,
into being one of the top schools of the conference. But
oh
because I mean, with
yeah.
the OVC, we were number 1 or 2 every single year.
Well, that coach change,
Right.
Crom's back, so
Transfer portal is kicking everybody's butt.
that
Players
it
can just up
is.
and leave.
It's a pro and a con, mostly a con
For us especially.
for us.
Um, so with the brackets, I'm glad you mentioned the bracket for the playoffs. This is the first time I've done an NFL playoff bracket, kind of like similar to how you do the March Madness. They actually ESPN is doing it where you can go in there and fill it out, and it shows you. Um, it's not a set bracket like it would be NCAA because depending on who wins games depends on the next round's matchup for the NFL playoffs. So it go
Mhm.
ahead and guides you through that without you having to sit here and think about it. Um, so that's one thing I think is super cool, and you can kind of join a group just like March Madness, compete with your friends and see points and stuff. So we set one of those up just earlier tonight. So going back to both of our Super Bowl picks, I know you have the Browns and the Lions in the Super Bowl. And I believe I have the Ravens and the Cowboys. I think that's what I said on the podcast the week before, and that's what
Mhm.
I stuck with in my bracket.
Same here.
I'm feeling really good about my picks because the Ravens have the 1 seed in the AFC, so they have a bye week the first round. And then the Cowboys are the 2 seed, so they have home field advantage until they play the 49ers, if they get that far or if the 49ers get that far. Um, are you still feeling good about the Browns and Lions?
Absolutely not, but I chose them anyways.
You never felt good about it.
No. Look, man,
It's been a pipe dream from the beginning.
I go for the underdogs. And you know what? I just want to see it happen. I know it's probably not, but you know what? If it does, it's gonna be awesome. And everybody that's
No,
listening to this podcast, you will hate me, but it's gonna be awesome.
I think if that happens, everyone would be pleased just because it's gonna be so
It'll be
weird.
different.
It'll be so weird.
It'll be a little bit different. It ain't just gonna be your typical setup every single Super Bowl, right? So it's gonna be different this year, regardless. I feel like so, obviously.
Right. I mean, we're looking at the Chiefs. They have the Miami Dolphins in the first round, which the Chiefs played the Dolphins this year and the Chiefs won, but it wasn't necessarily like a blowout. It was a weird game because it was like there was no points scored in the first half for the Dolphins, and then the second half they scored. Um, I feel like that's a good matchup for the Dolphins, but it's in Kansas City, and there's a chance of it being like 0 degrees and possibly snowy.
Hmm.
And a team from Miami is probably not going to be used to that.
Yeah, they're gonna freeze their little tushies off out there.
Yeah, and they're a team that I mean they do like to run the ball, but their style of running the ball isn't necessarily like ground and pound. Their style of running is like we're way faster than you, so we're just gonna run all around the field. That's not
That's
gonna
how
work
I
in the
operate.
snow if it's super cold. Um, while the Chiefs, they've had their struggles this year, they're still the team with experience. They're still the team with, Patrick Mahomes, who you have a vendetta out against. But
Look, man, my homie boy here. I hate him. All right, his arrogant and his stupid hairdo and everything else, but I still have them winning that game because I just
did
think
you?
they're going.
Okay.
I did, yeah, I did pick them just because I think they will beat the Dolphins, but
Okay.
because I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, Miami's going to be playing in a climate they're not used to, and I tell
Yeah.
you what, when you put me in a climate I'm not used to, nope. You put
No,
me up,
no.
you put me down in Florida, it ain't happening, bro. I'm gonna melt.
Yeah,
And
too
when
hot.
they come and when they go to Kansas City, they're gonna change into a little ice ball,
Yeah.
and then they're gonna crack under pressure. You get that, bro?
Mm, I
That's
see.
good, bro. Yeah, that was some very smart stuff coming over here.
Great analysis. Yeah.
Thank you.
Also, with the snow, that's going to be harder to run fast, and that's kind of the Miami Dolphins thing is speed.
You
Um,
know, dolphins are actually quite slippery, so it makes sense.
that's a good analysis because they are just a little slippery guys out there. Um, the
Look, I'm
Dolphins have such a
not so
weird
dumb.
offense. It's like the Dolphins, they either run the ball for like 20 yards or they throw the ball for like 30 yards. There's no like 5 yard plays or 4 yard. It's all big plays. Anyways, okay, next matchup, the Buffalo Bills and the Pittsburgh Steelers barely sneaked into the playoffs. They were both playing for their playoff spot, yet the Bills are the 2 seed and the Steelers are the 7 seed somehow. So who did you pick in that matchup?
I don't remember. I gotta go
You don't
look.
remember?
I'm pretty
Well,
sure I picked it. I'm pretty sure I picked the Bills. Okay.
I'll let you pull it up. I also picked
I
the
got.
Bills, but I was not confident about it.
I did pick the Bills, just to reiterate.
Okay. No, that's the Bills, I think they're kind of like the Cowboys, as in they can beat anybody, but they could also lose to anybody. And the Steelers are the team that should lose to everybody, but somehow beats everybody. They're just, I don't know. The Bills, this is gonna be a weird game where like Josh Allen, the Bills quarterback, is gonna have like 5 turnovers, but also have like 400 yards and probably jump over 5 people. And then the Steelers are gonna have like 5 completions for 4 touchdowns somehow, just because there's like a weird like black magic thing going on with the Steelers where they're really bad at offense, but they're still winning games. Um,
Look, look, man. When you got you got the Buffalo Bills, you got the Steelers here. Um, you got the Buffaloes. They're going to run into the steel. They'll break the steel, and they're ultimately going to come up on top. I mean, that's just logic.
so Buffalo meets Steelers, Steel. Buffalo wins.
So you got a steel wall. Hear me out. You got a steel wall. got Buffalo right here. Okay. Okay. Here
Yep,
comes
I'm
the Buffalo.
following. Okay.
Buffalo breaks the steel wall. And that's why the Buffalo Bills are going to win their game. This has been a broadcast
Okay.
from Travis.
If I were to compare the Bills quarterback Josh Allen to any animal, it'd probably be a buffalo.
Yeah, see?
He doesn't make sense to be a quarterback. He's just a big football player.
He's a Buffalo.
And this
And
is
he
also a game
runs.
that this is an outdoor game in Buffalo, chance of snow, but that's nothing new for Pittsburgh because they're pretty close by and
Oh,
also have the
it's
bad weather.
stinky up
But
there.
that's kind of fun to watch a game. I don't want every game to be played in the snow and sticky because then it's kind of boring, but having a couple, it makes it exciting.
Hey, now, the more obstacles you have, the more talent and skill they're going to pull out to be able to win. You can't just let the weather be an excuse for the fact that you lost.
No, it's not an excuse because both teams are playing against the elements, but it does limit some teams more than others because some teams can I, I don't know how to explain that. Some teams need fair weather environment. Like some teams play in a dome all year and then they have to go to the playoffs and play in the snow. They're not used to that, so it's more of a disadvantage to those teams. Well, it's not an
See,
excuse.
they need to play games, not just play them in a dome. They need to go play games elsewhere and learn it and get used to it. That way, they're not going to be caught off guard when it comes a blizzard while they're trying to be a wizard.
It's hard to prepare. It's hard to prepare for like a blizzard. How do you replicate that scenario? Do you like get a snow machine and fill up your
Listen,
practice stadium?
this is what you do. You take your team, you go to like the slopes where they go skiing and all that jazz, and you play
Okay,
football while you're
you
skiing.
play while skiing. Okay,
This is a
yeah,
new
that could work.
sport I just made up called football ski or ski ball. Oh wait, that's a sport.
Foot ski.
Foot ski. Foot ski.
Next
Okay,
thing
so
you
yeah,
know, like players are gonna be replacing their cleats with skis.
I'd watch it.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Okay, next AFC matchup, we got the Cleveland Browns, your Super Bowl pick,
Mm,
and the Houston Texans. I know you picked Cleveland, uh,
I did.
or else they wouldn't be going to the Super Bowl. I also picked Cleveland just because I think their defense is so darn good. Even though I love Houston, I love their rookie quarterback, and it's a great story. I think this is where that story ends in the playoffs in the first round to Cleveland and the old man Joe Flacco uh, in that Cleveland defense.
Flag.
So Browns, Texans, what's your analysis here?
So my analysis here is that we got the Browns, of course, got the Texans.
Basically, the Texans are gonna poop their pants playing the
The
Browns.
Cleveland Browns are going to poop all over the Texans. It's going to be a
Okay.
poop fest, and they're going to win.
Okay. I
That's my
apologize for this
analysis.
graphic analysis, but it works. Um,
So,
that's that's the AFC matchup. So we've already talked a little bit about the Packers and the Cowboys and the NFC. We both got the Cowboys. I expected you to have the Packers, but I'm proud of you for uh going with your brain instead of your heart. Let's see. We also have the Philadelphia Eagles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Um,
mm,
this was a tough
yes.
decision for me because I am such a Eagles hater, it seems like. And not because I just dislike the Eagles, but because I just don't think they're that good. But I actually picked them to win this one because I'm even more of a Buccaneers hater. Um, the Buccaneers barely made the playoffs. So they only won the last game 9-0 by kicking 3 field goals against the Carolina Panthers, who are by far the worst team in the league this year. Um, if you're gonna, you know, finish your season making the playoffs in the last game, you got to do more than kick 3 field goals against the worst team in the league. Um, I like Baker Mayfield, the Buccaneers quarterback, but I just think the rest of the team, I don't think they're that well coached. I think they're just the Eagles have a good enough roster, have a good enough coach. Even though they've been struggling lately, I think they overcome that in the first round against the Buccaneers just because it's a weaker opponent.
Yeah, look here. Here's my analysis of the Eagles versus the Buccaneers. The Eagles, they're going to soar because this is America. And that's why the Eagles will win. And that's all that I have to say for this one.
Okay.
It's enough said.
So this is actually a home game for the Buccaneers because they're the divisional winners. So it's in Tampa Bay, not in Philly. Are the Eagles soaring in Tampa Bay?
Of course. It's America, man.
Okay.
The Eagles soar all over this country. And you know what? The Buccaneers, they're going to bucket right on back home.
Okay.
The Eagles are going to take a poop on them, too.
No. Okay. Eagle poop. So interestingly, this is complete sidebar. I think there's an eagle that lives like in the field next to my house. We see one pretty often out here in Kentucky, so it's pretty
Yeah, it's
cool.
pretty patriotic, man.
The last NFC matchup, if I can remember it,
Lions versus the Rams.
Lions Rams. There we go. This is an interesting one, and I'll explain it to you. So the Rams made the Super Bowl a few years ago, and they had their young quarterback that they drafted, Jared Goff, who has since been traded to the Lions, and the Lions traded their quarterback, a longtime quarterback, Matthew Stafford, to the Rams. So they basically swapped quarterbacks a couple of years ago.
Wasn't that a fun howdy
The
do?
Rams since won the Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford, so they were technically more successful. They kind of won the deal, I guess you can say, because they got the Super Bowl, which is the overall goal. But the Lions have, kind of resurrected themselves as one of the worst teams and become now this playoff team with Jared Goff, the Rams' past quarterback. Um, Matthew Stafford's still on the Rams now, going back to Detroit, his where he's loved there. He's a good guy there. But it's kind of this revenge game for both of these quarterbacks because they're playing against their old team and kind of want to prove like you made the wrong decision trading me. I'm the better quarterback here. With all that said, who did I pick?
Oh my gosh.
Uh,
You're
I
about
think
like me.
I picked the Lions in this one. Um, The Lions have suffered a big injury to their tight end, Sam Laporta, who's been super productive this year. But I still think I like the Lions head coach Dan Campbell a lot because he talks about biting off opponents' kneecaps, which is just an interesting coaching style. But the
My
Lions,
kind of
they're such a
man.
good story this year that I think the Lions have kind of in the tail end of this year lost some games they should have won. So their record could be a lot better than it is. And I think coming to the playoffs is kind of the crunch time for them. And I think they're built for this type of environment. They're going to be in Detroit at home. Well, the Rams have been a good story. Matthew Stafford's still a good quarterback. I got to take the Lions here.
That's right. And it all comes down to this. You have the Lions, you have the Rams. I mean, you pit those two animals against each other. Who do you think's going to win? We see a lion. A lion's going to take down a ram any day. So the Lions are going to pull this game out. They're ranked 3. The Rams are ranked 6. They're going to take them down just because that's what lions do. They're the king of the jungle
That's fair. In Detroit.
in Detroit.
That's such an odd mask. I mean, there's not really any Lions anywhere in the United States, so it is an odd mascot for a team, but
There's
it
the
works, I suppose.
Lyon County Lions.
That is a
It's a,
county in Kentucky, and they are the Lions. That's right. That
they're a
actually
high
makes
school.
sense though, because it's Lyon County.
Yeah, they're a high school team, but hey,
Yeah.
Lions.
Okay, so that's kind of the first round matchups. We agree on most of these. We don't hardly have any disagreements. Do we have any?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Wow,
I'm
that's
pretty
actually
sure.
surprising.
Yeah, I think we all have the. Oh, my screen disappeared. Yeah,
I think
because we
we all have the
got
same. We both have the same picks.
Browns, Chiefs, Bills, right?
Yep.
And then Eagles, Lions, and Cowboys, right?
Yeah. So we both have the
Yeah,
same picks
yeah,
there.
we're all in agreement right here.
Wow. We did not plan this at all. We did these picks completely separate. Aside from the Super Bowl picks we did together.
That's gonna suck
That's
if something screws up. Our brackets are gonna go.
that will both be sitting there in bottom of the league there.
That's usually where I'm at, anyways.
Okay. So that's pretty much the first round of the playoffs. Those games are going to be played this weekend. Um,
Yeah,
so
boy.
so for our next podcast episode, we will probably be talking about the results of those and going into the next week. Um, one last thing before we end the show though, just
Hold
got the
on,
news
hold on,
tonight.
hold on, hold on, hold on,
Yeah,
hold on.
go ahead.
I gotta prepare. Okay, proceed.
Showing our respect because we just got the news tonight. Murray State alumni John Morant out for the season. He tore his labrum, which I believe is something in his shoulder.
Yes.
So he's gonna have to have surgery, which means he's out for the season. This is
Yeah.
a little bit extra disappointing because we know he's had the off the court trouble. He just got back to being able to play after serving a suspension. He was back probably not even 10 games yet, and he's injured. Um,
Man.
this is kind of one of those weird injuries. Like it wasn't like something that like he did wrong necessarily. He like didn't like have a weird fall or something. He's just a torn muscle basically, which requires surgery. He's out for the year. Very disappointing for Murray State fans who are supporting John Morant, but also the
Mhm.
Grizzlies, who pretty much their season is toast. So
Yeah.
it's
Here's the thing.
disappointing.
Here's the
Go
thing.
ahead.
Like John Morant, he's a great player, and I could obviously support him being from Murray State, and I want him to, obviously do better and get to playing time he needs. But he plays extremely rough. Like it seems like
Yeah.
watching him play, he always plays this out of care to himself. Like he doesn't care if he gets injured. That's what because he's been injured so many times because he plays so I don't want to say violently. That's not the correct word, but he just plays like was out of care for his own body. If I'm not sure
Yeah.
if I'm saying that right. That's just why he gets injured so much. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, he pulled off some awesome feats. He obviously their
Mhm.
best player in my opinion, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's
this
definitely
is
their best
coming.
player. His athleticism is kind of like his gift and his curse in a way. You think
Hmm.
when I think back to players similar to him, like Derrick Rose is a good example. Derrick Rose was for the Chicago Bulls was like this freak athlete. He won MVP in the NBA. He went through a couple of injuries and um, ended up almost being out of the league, but he kind of made it to be able to like come off the bench of a couple teams and kind of resurrected his career. But he was never the athlete that he was before, so he was never quite the same player. Um, so that's just maybe a lesson that John Morant can take is, I have this
Hmm.
athleticism, but I have this skill as a sense of like I'm smart when it comes to basketball. I'm great at passing. I'm a pretty good shooter. I'm fast. I don't necessarily have to jump over everybody and dunk on them to be effective. Maybe, it's only using that athleticism when it's necessary to win a game, but when you're going through the typical, your typical games through the regular season, maybe tone it down a bit, pass more, do some more layups rather than trying to dunk over somebody, just to preserve your body a little bit. You see
Well,
players who are this athletic, who are this young, they don't have long careers more than 10 plus years. You see them, 5 to 10 years, and then they're pretty much um, not nearly the player they once were. So not necessarily this isn't really an injury because of that, but John Morant, I think he could use a lot of that toning things down, just letting the game come to him instead of trying to force things with his athleticism and just use that when he has to.
I think it's a catch-22 as well because I mean, one of the ways you could avoid that is, of course, by building muscle and toning your body. But the more muscle mass you put on, the slower you are. And obviously,
Hmm.
he's built for speed. That's one of his
Yeah.
driving points. So putting on more muscle is just going to slow him down. So in a sense, it's like it's a double-edged sword. While you need to tone your body and get strong, you also don't want to put on muscle mass
Hmm.
and slow yourself down. And yeah, I know. I'm supposed to be the dumb over here, and I'm talking like my wife's a physical therapist. Okay.
No, yeah. No, I mean that's a valuable point though. I mean, if for him, he is a very like he's pretty much rail thin when it comes to like his body shape.
Mhm.
Um, if you put on, 20 pounds of muscle, how much would that affect his speed and his like burst? I wonder. Um,
I don't
you
know if
need to kind of do
20.
some research and look into other players that have done something like
Yeah,
that.
I feel like 20 pounds wouldn't be a whole lot, Because I mean, you can obviously train your body to be faster even with muscle mass, but I mean, everything's going to affect you out there, even just a little bit of a change to your body. So it's a big thing. But
yeah, with his injury though, he's gonna be out for a while. So it's gonna be almost a year till he gets to play again, which I'm assuming is gonna be the start of the next regular
Yep.
season. So that also means he's gonna have a lot of time to recover, to work on his body, to maybe gain some of that weight if he wants to. But at the same time, I'm wondering how restricted he's going to be in his workouts because that's a shoulder injury. I don't know how much shooting and dribbling the basketball he can do, or even lifting weights to a certain extent. But
for a while, he'll be restricted for several months till obviously he strengthens that shoulder back up.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, if depending on the surgery and how his recovery goes, the Grizzlies probably won't make the playoffs, but if they were to somehow make the playoffs on just some crazy thing, would he be able to return for some time in that playoffs if they have an extended season? That, I don't know, the doctors and all that will kind of determine that and how his rehab goes.
I would say a good doctor, a good physical therapist probably would not let him just because it's just going to be too soon. And especially, like I said, the way he plays, it would just immediately be a problem probably for him.
Yeah.
So he'd be better.
I would,
He'd be better off sitting out just for his own good, anyways.
yeah, I would lean towards him sitting out at least till the start of next season. And if the Grizzlies somehow made the playoffs without him, then let's see what they can do without him in the playoffs. Let's not try to change things up.
I mean, yeah, I mean they could do something. You never know.
But I still think slim chances they make it
Yeah.
without him. They were already dug themselves a hole to start the season without him playing, and he was winning some games with them. But at this point, they're going back to losing, I expect.
Yeah,
All right.
Well, our condolences and well wishes with John Morant and his family, and hopefully he will get back on the court as soon as he can. That's all we can hope for.
100% agree. He's so fun to watch, so we just want to get as much of him, on the court as we can. That pretty much does it for this episode. We talked about college football, Michigan winning the championship, the first time in 30 something years, I want to say, that they've won a championship. So
Oh
congrats to them.
yeah.
And then, NFL playoffs are set. Saints season is over. Packers season stays for at least one more week. And we'll see how it goes. But we will catch you guys on the next episode probably in about a week.
Oh yeah. And you know what you gotta do till then. Till next time, my friends. Stay dumb.
Smart. See you guys later.
See ya.